What is up? What is up? I've been seeing a lot of videos that give a lot of bad advice regarding knives. So I'm going to try and sum up a few things all in one video. So basically, I'm basically trying to do away with all these fucking gimmicky ass knives that you see people pitching. Like, the first and foremost thing that I see people saying is they got these people talking about ungodly itty bitty little knives that are gonna be your life saving thing. And I picked the most fucking funny knife of all of them to pick because, yes, this will make a decent holdout knife as a last ditch effort so you can get to a better weapon. But don't ever get it twisted. You're not going to kill someone with this knife instantly. Not without a miracle. I mean, a absolute miracle. So without further ado, we're going to basically put to rest the myth of itty bitty fighting knives and just stupidity to do with like bushcrafting and EDC type knives, where you see someone like, I literally just watched a video of a dude that had a skeletonized knife that had somewhere between a 4 and 6 inch blade. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 4-inch blade because I didn't look at the specs. I just saw that it was just absolute garbage. So for those of you that don't know what skeletonized is, this is a skeletonized throwing knife. And these cutouts are the skeletonization. They're bad. What happens to skeletonized knives is this. As you can see, that snapped off, and we now have a handleless throwing knife out there. Yeah, I ground a little bit off of it and turned it into a rope dart. But, yeah. So, just skeletonized handles, skeletonized knives, not exactly the best for long-term lifespan. This knife is right at about a year old. And it's got 5 more just like it. Basically what's going to happen, as you can see, there's little nicks and stuff inside the blade here. Because this is a harder type of steel, it stress fractures. And then it's going to basically do its impression of harmonics, if you can hear that. And those harmonics, the vibration, is stress on the knife. Sooner or later, that vibration, it goes snap, me no want no more. And then it looks like this. So, skeletonized knives for bushcraft and fighting, no bueno, homie. Don't want it. So that right there is going to be solve one problem. And again, it brings us back to the itty bitty little tiny knife. You are not going to do anything but superficial damage, and maybe if you're really good and really skilled, you could take out some nerves and tendons. You could slice someone's wrist with it. But they're not going to stop fighting immediately. You want something that's going to do damage. Quite juxtaposed, right? But this is a combat knife. Plain and simple. Most kukris are designed to be both a knife and a tool. But modern kukris are way more geared towards fighting. Because would you rather have that to take an opponent out, or that itty bitty little toothpick that I just put away. But something that's probably going to be more realistic for a fighting knife is going to be something like my little Ace Jet ring knife here. I haven't had a chance to really put it through its paces yet because I've only had it for just under 24 hours. It just finally arrived yesterday. But I will absolutely tell you, if you're looking for something that would be an EDC fighting knife, this is right up the alley because it is long enough to do the damage. It has a 6-inch blade. It has a full-size handle. It even has this nice, lovely ring that you can use for various different tricks and tactics. I'm sure there's more knife fighters out there that are way more talented than I am that can do a lot more with this, considering. But the plain simple fact of the matter is, this has a beefy spine on it. It has a good heavy blade. And it's a full tang handle. I mean, it is not your usual full tang, but this is a lot of meat for as little as there is there, considering how thick it is. Something a little bit more typical that most people are going to run with is probably going to be something along the lines of this. This is borderline pushing your luck for an all-around knife because this only has like a 4-inch blade. It's really not going to do enough if you need to stab someone to get in and truly do damage, but it has enough meat that this will actually make a better carry knife for a bushcraft blade. It's obviously not big enough and heavy enough that you're going to be batoning this and splitting firewood, but anybody that thinks an itty bitty little knife like this one is going to work for that is sadly mistaken, because this is going to be like the littlest knife I would ever use for batoning, and this wouldn't even be my first choice. But I do know for an absolute fact that you can safely baton these knives because I've seen video of Master Jacob using a axe bit to pound that thing through batoning instead of just using freaking wood. So metal on metal, I have seen one of these stand up to being batoned through an actual full-on freaking thick chunk of stick. We're talking like a 3 or 4 inch freaking branch. Not a full-on log, but bigger than a freaking stick by all means. So basically, you are going to want a minimum of 6 inches when you're going after a fighting knife, because that 6-inch knife, which is basically this is the conventional stuff that I'm talking about that most Americans are going to have. This is a knockoff of the Buck 119. You can get this version at Harbor Freight for just under $30. The sheath on it's halfway decent. The one thing you're going to have an issue with is the leather belt strap is riveted on, and it very well may pull off, but you can modify it. Right now I've got it ghetto rigged so that way it has zip ties. But this knife is going on 3 years old. This is a budget special. I've never batoned it. I've never really overly abused it. But this is seen daily carry. This is seen daily use for usual around the house working on a place that is off-grid, where you're going to be doing all your own maintenance, where you need to cut shit, you need to use it to get into something, open something, whatever the case may be. This is going to be a good all around. Carry it, defend yourself with it, work with it, do your own thing, and at the price between 30 and 80 for the actual real original one, because you can get the real deal buck that is made in the US. It's not stainless like this one. It is some other form of better steel, I believe, if I remember right, because this is stainless. The one that's made by Buck is a different type of metal. But the plain simple fact of the matter is, if you're going for a cheaper knife, you're probably not going to be as picky about what you're getting for your knife material. Because personally, if I'd have paid more attention, I probably wouldn't have bought this knowing that it was stainless. Now, because of the fact that stainless just isn't my first choice. I would rather have something like this that is made out of like a high carbon steel, and it is just going to last so much better. It's easier to maintain, easier to take care of, and because of the way that the handle is on this with that leather wrap, if that ever wears out, I can easily improvise on some kind of a different type of wrap that will absolutely work. May even give this a little bit more girth, so that way it's a little bit easier to handle. But personally, the thing with handles, you're going to want something that fits your hand. If you got big old meat paws, you're going to want a ginormous handle, because you want something that is going to be sizable, substantial, and fit in that meat paw. I personally got little hands, so I wear a size medium glove. Not exactly a huge hand for a guy that's 6 feet tall, but I can get away with using bigger handled knives because I've got enough hand to get my hand around that. But I prefer something that is a little smaller and a little bit more functional, because of the fact that I can get a better grip on it and control it just a little bit better. But that is all going to be down to preference on handles and things like that. There are certain things that you're going to want to take into consideration when it comes to handles, because there's a lot of different handle construction. Like, there's no guarantee that this is a full tang handle. I don't see anything that says what the handle length is. And traditionally, kukris are made with either a partial tang or a rat tail tang, so that way they can peen them over, and or some other type of attachment for the way that the handles are. Because this is not traditional. Obviously, this is a K-bar, this is a rubber handle, but this could be a half tang, this could be a full tang. That lanyard hole could actually tie into the tang, but I do kind of doubt it personally. Not looking to tear the knife up anytime soon to find out, but it is what it is. So that basically is going to bring me to a few other things to talk about. Let's get this back into its sheath. And that's where I'm going to start talking about some of these littler knives. And like, this is an itty bitty little gas station knife that is an absolute joke. The handle on it has zero fit and finish. There's hot spots all over from where it's just not even fitted or anything like that. The blade on it looks like it should be a Damascus, but I guarantee you it's cheaply made. That is just somehow printed on there or some stupid shit, because that is not Damascus. I assure you. But I'm just showing you like a couple of little trivial garbage knives that, like, would you ever carry something like this and think that this would be a self-defense item? I hope not. And you can see that little knives like these don't hold up well to abuse because of the way that they're made. There's a lot of brass in that frame that is going to be soft. This is basically for picking your teeth, cleaning your fingernails, and opening letters and shit like that. Maybe you could cut a little bit of rope with a knife like this, but this is not going to do much of anything. And that's going to bring you to something that a lot of people are going to look at and go, oh, I could get a lot done with that. I could defend myself with that. Really? You're going to defend yourself with... This thing is so freaking flimsy, you can sit and watch it flop around. I mean, that thing just bends in the middle like a piece of taffy. And I don't care how good your folding lock blade is, even if it's just a gas station POS like this, they're not strong. They're not engineered for abuse. Even if they've got one of them fancy schmancy locks, do you really want to trust your life on a folding blade knife? Because this is going to bring us back to that whole concept of, is it a good knife? Is it a fighting knife? Because this is something that is a actual decent lock blade knife. This actually has a 3-inch blade on it. Hold out. By all means, you could get away with a last-ditch effort of defending yourself with a knife like this. But again, that thing is a 4-finger knife, and it is not going to do enough damage, especially someone that is untrained. That is also going to bring us to the other issue with a knife like this. You put it in your pocket like this, right? So first and foremost, imagine this is my pants pocket and you're threatening me. I've got to get this thing out, deploy it, and be ready. And you can see how that is not an easy task, because I don't care how good you are with any of these knives, it's going to take you at least a half a second extra on top of pulling this out of your pocket to deploy the blade and get it into a grip to defend yourself. So, what you're going to want is a sensible knife that comes out and is instantly ready. Doesn't have to be re-indexed. This knife can be mounted anywhere you want, because I can keep this in my pocket where I need help. Boom, it's ready. I can stick this in my waistband. I can carry this thing scout style behind my back. I can rebuild the sheath or buy a new sheath and carry this any way I want. But the simple fact of the matter is, nothing beats a fixed blade knife, sheathed and ready to be drawn at a moment's notice to defend yourself. And depending on where you keep the sheath is going to make the difference of how you draw it. Do you want to draw it like this, where you're going to grip it regular style, or do you want to grip it underhanded? It just comes down to where it's put, because like put it here this way, scout style, it comes out that way. If I flip this over 180 degrees, then it can come out that way, or I can come out underhanded with this knife as well. It's just a matter of moving my hand around to get it done. I just need to know where it's at and be able to index it for the way that I want to grab it. Because I can mount it here, come out underhanded on this side. I can mount it here, come out underhand. or I can cross draw this one. That's the beautiful thing about a knife like this. So I highly suggest you really truly study before you start buying knives that you're going to think that you're going to be using for EDC, use and abuse, and you're going to be using it as something that's going to save your life. Because I can guarantee you, if you do not know how to defend yourself with a knife, you're not going to know what to do. You're going to present a danger to yourself in the long run if you're not careful. Because not knowing what you're doing with that knife, it's easy to make a mistake and stab yourself. Because there's been times that, I kid you not, when I was training, you get something new, don't know the dimensions of it, and you go and hit yourself with your own weapon sometimes because you do not know. And like a perfect example is I was watching a video where they took a Japanese samurai master and handed him a European longsword. And he loved it. He absolutely enjoyed playing with that sword. And he had never seen one, never held one up close and personal. But he tried to manipulate that longsword as though it was a katana. And whenever he was doing katana strikes where they're up here, he was beating himself in the head with the crossguard. And that made him say that he would like to see the crossguard go this way instead of this way, because he didn't stop to think, use the sword in the style that it's meant to be, which is hold it here, get it up higher, not here like you normally would with a katana, because a katana is a whole different beast. It is a two-handed sword, just like a big greatsword would, but very, very, very different concept, because it's not as much of a fast sword like a katana would be. Because a katana would suit my style of fighting, I think, just because of the fact that obviously I'm no muscle-bound menace any shape or means, never have been, never will be. But a katana, a lot lighter, a lot more fast, a lot more nimble and agile. You can move it around and do your thing with it. That big, ginormous greatsword is more along the lines of this thing. You're having to think about what you're doing with this thing, because it is front heavy, harder to recover. So train with any weapon, even if it's not a knife. If you're carrying a walking stick and plan on using that to beat someone down, go out in the backyard, hit something. Figure out what it feels like to use that stick. So that way when trouble arises, you're not sitting there looking at it, I hope this works. I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do? You know. Makes more sense, right? Muscle memory, training, learn, get decent equipment, because remember, your life depends on what you're going to use to defend yourself. That never changes. And these days, ain't nobody gonna come and defend you. I mean, fuck, man, the cops don't even defend us anymore. They want to try and throw us in jail for defending ourselves. I mean, I've literally caught a charge and done a year of fucking probation for self-defense, when I was clearly attacked and threatened on a daily basis for a year by a dope fiend junkie. So it is what it is, people. When the world is not with us and against us, we need to be prepared and actually know what we're doing, so that way you have equipment that will save your life. Even if it's not a knife, get bear spray, get pepper spray, something that will give you the edge to get the hell away from whoever's attacking you. Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because I don't care who you are, sooner or later, you're going to get into a situation, whether you're being robbed or whether you wind up walking into some person that's off in the head and having a bad day, and they looked at you and you were the camel that broke the straw, you know? So it's just that moment. Figure out something that you can use, that you know how to use, and are willing to put your faith in to defend yourself. And make sure that it's actually going to be adequate to defend yourself. Because would you want the worst of the worst to defend yourself or the best of the best? It's just that simple. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but do not take the advice of every dipshit that you see on YouTube. Do a little bit of study, do a little bit of training, ask questions of people that actually know what they're doing. Because there are a lot of frauds out there. The moment that you understand the way that real self-defense and real training works, it's not even a thing. And see, that also brings me to something that I had heard someone say the other day that ties into it. And there is a difference between self-defense and violence. You are probably not going to get away with simple self-defense in the modern world to defend yourself. You do need to be versed in the language of violence to be able to truly defend yourself. So, that's my food for thought. Hopefully, it's not a somber situation and a depressing situation, but an eye-opening situation where you really think about what's going on in the world and who's around you and what you put your faith in. Because we live in a fucked up world. People are going to be doing stupid shit. Things are going to get a lot worse. This is if there was ever a time to learn how to truly defend yourself and be prepared, this is it. Because we're coming up on a point in time where I'm pretty sure that shit's gonna get as worse as it's ever been. So, as worse as it's ever been. I don't know that that's an actual phrase, but I kind of like the way that it went together with this world. It's the worst that it's ever been, and it's going to get worse. But I can just basically keep rambling, so I think I'm going to cut this, and hopefully you get what I'm saying. So, go learn something. Go and be prepared. And don't just learn something to defend yourself. Learn something you fucking enjoy. Go have some fucking fun. Enjoy civilization while it lasts.